The shocking truth about surrendering, what the Bible reveals at midnight. The clock ticked eerily in the small town of Willow Creek as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows that danced across the pavement. Midnight was near, but something far more sinister loomed in the air, a sense of the unknown, a whisper echoing through the hollow streets, beckoning the curious. The legend had it that at this dark hour, the truth about surrendering would be revealed, hidden within the pages of a dusty old Bible that hadn't been opened in decades. It sat in the attic of the old church, cloaked in cobwebs, waiting for someone brave enough to unveil its secrets. Local kids shared chilling tales of how strange happenings would occur when the clock struck 12. Flickering lights, shadowy figures flitting through the fog, and the sound of distant singing would send chills racing down their spines. More than once, courageous souls ventured up there, only to be found trembling and breathless, unable to piece together what they had seen. Eyewitnesses claimed they heard haunting voices urging them to listen to the verses that spoke about surrender, words that twisted minds and sent hearts racing with fear. Emily, a daring girl with a penchant for adventure, felt a pull she couldn't shake. Her heart thrummed like a drum in her chest, hinting that tonight was different. Something was about to unfold. As she tiptoed through the creaking church doors, an uncanny silence enveloped her. The air felt heavier, electric, like a storm was about to break. She swallowed hard, running her fingers along the splintered pews, each touch sending shivers across her skin. The Bible was up there, and it seemed to call to her, almost as if it had a breath of its own, waiting to reveal the forbidden knowledge hidden away for generations. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With a courage she didn't quite feel, Emily climbed the spiraling stairs leading to the dusty attic. The shadows lengthened around her, seeming to shift and writhe like dark creatures stirring to life. Her breath grew shallow, the hairs on her neck prickled. Why was it so quiet? She squinted into the dim light filtering through the cracks, and suddenly, she saw the old Bible resting on a pedestal, its cover worn and cracked. A beam of silver moonlight poured over it, and Emily felt an overwhelming urge to reach out. What truth would this book hold? What would she have to surrender to discover it? She moved closer, her heartbeat echoing in her ears, as the whispers of the past began to swirl around her like a whirlwind. Would she have the strength to face whatever waited within those pages, or would she, too, be swept away into the mystery at midnight? Emily reached out, her trembling fingers brushing against the worn cover of the Bible. It felt warm under her touch, almost alive, as if it throbbed with a hidden energy. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices that filled her mind with both dread and curiosity. She couldn't turn back now. Midnight was looming, and the time to uncover the secret was at hand. With a deep breath, she opened the Bible. The pages were yellowed with age, but each word glowed faintly under the moonlight. For whoever loses their life, for my sake, will find it, she read aloud, her voice trembling. Instantly, the air around her thickened, and a chill swept through the attic. Shadows danced around her, more pronounced now, swirling like smoke in the dim light. They seemed to reach out toward her, desperate to drag her into the depths of their darkness. Emily stumbled back, her heart racing. "What do you want from me?" she whispered, panic tightening her chest. The attic lights flickered, and the shadows shimmered. Then, like a veil lifting, she heard them clearly. "Surrender, surrender to the truth." A memory flashed in her mind, images of her father, who had surrendered everything for his faith. She hadn't understood it then, but now the weight of that decision pressed down on her. What had he known that she didn't? Suddenly, the attic felt smaller, the walls closing in around her with an almost suffocating pressure. The Bible spoke again, but this time the voice was different. Softer. More inviting. Emily, you are here for a reason. You must embrace the truth, not fear it. The words filled her with a strange mixture of hope and dread. Could the truth really set her free? Or would it bind her in terrifying ways? The air crackled with anticipation, and Emily had the overwhelming feeling that something was going to happen. In a flash of courage, she began to flip through the pages, searching for answers as the old wood creaked underfoot. As she did, the whispers crescendoed, promising revelations that left her dizzy. Just then, a loud crash echoed from below, breaking her concentration. Heart pounding, she looked towards the attic door. Was someone else up here? Hello? She called out, her voice trembling. There was no answer, only more whispers that seemed to come from the very shadows lurking in the corners. With hesitation, she took a step toward the door, but her curiosity held her in place. The Bible had to speak again. She had to know more. As she recited another verse, a blinding light erupted from the pages, and the shadows writhed in response, twisting violently. The attic trembled, and the floor shook beneath her. Emily screamed, feeling her world tip sideways as the light encompassed her. Little did she know, beyond the church doors, the townsfolk stirred, awakened by a noise they couldn't explain. Their faces filled with both fear and fascination as the church's steeple glowed like a beacon in the night. What truth would emerge? Would Emily uncover the dark forces entwined with her family's past, or would she risk losing herself in the process? As the light faded, a figure appeared before her, cloaked in darkness and illuminated only by the moon. You've called for the truth. It's time to choose. What choice would she make, and what consequences awaited her? Emily's heart raced as the figure advanced, each step measured and deliberate. It was a silhouette that flickered between the shadows, a combination of dread and allure. The air grew colder, wrapping around her like a vice. She gulped, trying to steady her breath, but the weight of their presence pressed down like stone. Who are you? She stammered, her voice barely a whisper. The figure paused, the darkness cloaking their features, making it impossible to discern their intent. I am the guardian of the truth you seek, they said, their voice resonating within the attic, echoing off the wooden beams like a chilling wind. You summoned me with your desperation, with your desire to know. Emily felt a swell of determination. What truth? What are you talking about? The darkness in your family's past, the figure replied, stepping closer. A thin beam of moonlight illuminated part of their face, and Emily was struck by an emotion she couldn't place. Was it sorrow, or something more sinister? Your father took a path few are willing to travel. He chose faith above all else, but it came with a price. What kind of price? Emily demanded, refusing to back down. She needed clarity in the midst of chaos. To uncover the truth, you must surrender, the figure whispered, extending a hand as if to pull her into their depths. Surrender not just to fear, but to the very essence of your being. She blanched at the idea. Surrender? It felt like giving up, losing control. The echoes of her father's teachings rippled through her thoughts. He always spoke about faith and sacrifice, but she had never imagined it could involve unearthing the terrifying unknown. No! I can't! She shouted, shaking her head, backing away from the figure. The shadows quivered as if sharing her fear. Every soul that seeks the truth must pass through the flames, the figure persisted, their voice deepening with urgency. Your father made a choice to fight against the darkness, and now it is your turn. As the whispers intensified, she felt the ground shudder beneath her, as if the very foundation of the attic were shaking with anticipation. Memories flooded her mind, the sound of her father's voice reading the scriptures, the peace it brought him, the storm clouds hovering over his face as he explained the weight of choosing to believe. Did he know what he was getting into? She asked, her heart wavering between determination and terror. He knew that the truth would both liberate and torment, whispered the figure, their form growing more defined. But you cannot act haphazardly. Choose wisely what you wish to uncover. Emily felt her pulse quicken. What lies beyond this choice? The figure inclined their head, shadows pooling around them like a cloak. You will see the paths of those before you, the sacrifices they made and the darkness they confronted. But beware, knowledge comes at a cost. The room spun as she grappled with her fear. Suddenly, she heard footsteps from below, the townsfolk gathering, drawn by the glow radiating from the attic. Were they coming to help her, or were they part of the darkness? Don't let them interfere, Emily, the figure said, their voice laced with urgency, cutting through her confusion. Make your choice now. Time slowed as the shadows encircled her, their grasp both familiar and foreboding. Did she dare confront the truth her father had faced? Was it time to unravel the mysteries ingrained in her bloodline? What will I lose? She asked, the weight of reality settling heavily on her shoulders. You will lose a part of yourself. But you will gain the strength to fight, the figure responded, their voice now resonating like a drumbeat, an urgent rhythm calling her to action. Emily stood at the precipice, a decision, it's now or never. The townsfolk's murmurs grew louder, colliding with the pulsating echoes of the shadows around her. What path would she take? Would she surrender to the truth that awaited, or turn back into the comfort of the unknown? The moment has come. Choose! Echoed through the attic as the blinding light threatened to consume her once more. Emily felt the room tremble, a surge of energy whipping through the attic. The figure loomed closer, their expressions shifting as shadows flickered across their face. It was as if an unseen force urged her to make a move, yet fear kept her rooted to the floor. The footsteps below grew louder, a chorus of concern and curiosity, each pair resonating with the weight of the decision she faced. Choose! Echoed the figure, their voice rising over the noise. The air felt electric, charged with the potential of the choice before her. Closing her eyes, she could almost hear her father's voice, woven into the fabric of everything he had taught her. Faith isn't just belief, it's action. Those words looped in her mind, but now they felt heavier than ever. Can I really handle the truth? She wondered aloud, trembling slightly. The thought of unveiling her family's hidden darkness was terrifying, yet a flicker of resolve ignited within her. The memories of her father's unwavering faith beckoned her. She was stronger than she thought, wasn't she? With a deep breath, she locked eyes with the figure. I need to know. I choose to know. At that proclamation, the shadows around her seemed to pulse with approval, moving like tendrils of smoke. The figure smiled, a haunting blend of pity and pride. So be it, they said, voice softening into a chilling calm. The light exploded around her, blinding in its intensity before unfolding like a flower. She felt herself pulled into it, falling through a void of color and sound. Whispered secrets brushed against her skin, and a warmth nestled in her chest, coaxing her deeper into what felt like an alternate reality. In an instant, she landed not on her feet, but on an unforgiving surface that seemed to vibrate with ancient energy. She blinked, squinting at the blurry figures surrounding her. The world snapped into focus, revealing a dimly lit room filled with shadows of people gathered around a table cluttered with strange artifacts, each pulsing with a life of its own. Welcome to the gathering of souls seeking redemption, a woman said, her voice rich with remorse yet laced with hope. Emily recognized her as one of the townsfolk, though her familiar face bore a ghostly pallor. Around her, other figures appeared, faces contorted in pain, joy, and an amalgamation of both. What is happening? Emily demanded, confusion tightening her chest. What is this place? You've crossed the threshold of understanding, the woman replied, her gaze intense and searching. You are here to witness the sacrifices, their echoes of past struggles, often ignored or forgotten. You will learn the extent of your father's journey, and the truth behind his faith. Emily's heart raced. But why? Why show me this? What does it mean? The shadows danced, swirling images of her family's tumultuous history pouring into her mind. She saw her father embroiled in conflict, choosing faith over familial ties, a decision that left scars on their lineage. Each moment brought with it a wave of emotions: regret, determination, sorrow, love. It all collided in a tempest within her. The truth is both a shroud and a lantern, the woman intoned, her voice soothing yet firm. You can turn away from it, but it will always haunt you. Or you can embrace this knowledge, wield it, and change your family's destiny. Emily felt the weight of their collective past pressing down on her. With every breath, she sensed the shadows closing in, whispering the stories of those who fought, fell, and rose again. But what if the truth is too painful to bear? She whispered, fear creeping back in. Pain is inevitable, but so is strength, the figure replied. It is your choice to face it or flee. Just then, another voice broke through the storm of emotions, harsh and incongruous. You have no idea what's waiting for you back home. The crowd hushed, all eyes on a man who had just stepped forward, one she recognized from the town. Those who seek the truth may find more than they bargained for. Her breath caught in her throat. The question loomed larger than ever. Could she endure what lay ahead? The swirling shadows seemed to throb with a heartbeat as a terrifying thought invaded her mind. Was the knowledge she sought worth the price she might pay? The room began to spin again, the realities converging into a single moment. Would she face her family's legacy, or retreat into the comforting shadows? Emily stood at the nexus of her destiny, knowing it was time to confront not only her fears, but the darkness that riddled her bloodline. Will you take the path of truth? The shadow figure demanded, its presence looming larger than ever. Determination burned within her. Yes. She shouted, I will. And then the room fell silent, the air thick with anticipation, leaving her standing on the brink of the unknown. What if she learned things that changed everything she had believed about her family? Could she handle the revelation? Would she emerge stronger, or irreparably broken? With a fractured breath, Emily thought, what would she find waiting on the other side of truth? The moment Emily declared her intention, the air grew dense, almost suffocating. The room pulsed with energy as if the very walls were alive, drawing her deeper into a reality she had only glimpsed in shadows. Suddenly, the scattered artifacts on the table glowed, illuminating the faces around her. Each expression was a mirror, reflecting her own swirling storm of fear and anticipation. The figures leaned in closer, their voices merging into a hum of stories long buried. Emily felt a shiver run down her spine. She was the nexus of their collective pain and hope. What do you seek? The woman asked again, her gaze penetrating. I want to know everything. I want to understand why my father made the choices he did, Emily replied, her voice steadying. It was time to uncover the truth, no matter how painful. The woman's expression softened. The past is a tapestry woven with the threads of sacrifice. Each story has led you here. You must listen. With a flick of her wrist, the air thickened further, conjuring images that flickered like a faulty light. Emily gasped as memories flooded and scenes from her father's life played out before her, vibrant and raw. She watched him as a young man, at odds with family loyalty. In one vision, he stood at a crossroads, heart torn between tradition and a calling he believed was sacred. What was he giving up? She whispered, desperate to grasp every detail. Stability, came a voice to her left, a man in shadows with a deep frown etched across his features. He sacrificed his safety for a higher purpose, a purpose that can shatter your understanding of love. Emily felt the truth of his words wash over her like ice water. Love? Her mind raced. She had always thought of her father's faith as unwavering, yet here it seemed to tangle in complex knots of sacrifice and loss. Another vision ignited, consuming her. Emily was suddenly thrown into a fierce storm, lightning cracking above her father, as he preached fervently to a crowd desperate to hear something divine. Each shout of faith was matched by stones thrown in anger, shouts from those who thought they knew better. Fear dripped in the air, but still he stood firm, unwavering. What if he was wrong? She gasped, the foundations of her belief rattling inside her chest. What if the true delusion is believing stability exists where it does not? The woman replied, her tone heavy with the weight of experience. Struggling for breath, Emily felt the reality of her father's choices crush down upon her like a lead weight. The specter of hope seemed tenuous, almost cruel, as the images continued their relentless assault, love being a weapon, faith a battleground. Every choice has consequences, the man added, sorrow in his voice. And you, too, will face the repercussions of this knowledge. You carry it in your veins. As the last words echoed, Emily's heart thudded painfully. She was no longer just a passive observer, she was entwined in these narratives, part of that painful legacy. What would her choice lead to? Would she carry the burden or break the cycle? Before she could gather her thoughts, the shadows began to stir violently, twisting and growing darker. A roar built in the distance, echoing like an approaching storm. Emily's heart raced as dread curled in her stomach. "What is happening?" she cried, panic tightening her throat. "The truth has stirred forces within you," the woman warned, urgency filling her voice. "You must decide if you will wield the power of this knowledge or be swept away by it." As the shadows began to press in, threatening to engulf her, Emily grasped at her father's courage. She could almost see his face, urging her not to give in to despair. Summoning every ounce of strength, she thought once more of her journey, a journey that might have started with fear but had the potential to end in liberation. With that revelation igniting a fierce determination inside her, she stood her ground. "I will face whatever comes," she shouted, defiance lacing her tone. Silence fell abruptly, a breath held in the very fabric of existence. But beneath that silence lay an ominous hum, a recognition of the storm brewing just beyond her view. Would the truth grant her strength, or would it drown her in despair? And as that question lingered in the air, a disembodied laugh echoed through the darkness, chilling her to the bone. "You think you're ready?" The taunt slithered through the space. "You have no idea what's ahead." With each pulse of darkness around her, Emily prepared to confront the revelations and shadows yet to come, knowing the true test of her resolve was waiting just on the other side. Emily gasped, the disembodied laughter still ringing in her ears. It twisted around her like smoke, suffocating her resolve. "What do you mean?" she shouted, but the void swallowed her words, leaving nothing but silence. The shadows thickened, wrapping around her like a cocoon, constricting tighter with every second. Panic clawed at her throat. She fought against it, grasping for clarity, for direction. The visions, still swirling, flickered like a malfunctioning screen, each frame racing faster, forming a chaotic kaleidoscope of her father's life. A life rooted in faith but twisted with unspeakable choices and unfathomable pain. Then she saw it, a flash of something dark, almost tangible. It cut through the haze, a moment that stood out amidst the chaos. Her father, older now, kneeling in prayer, his face a mask of anguish. A decision looming. The understanding washed over her like cold water. He was torn apart, she whispered, the realization striking her with full force. "Your father bore a weight heavier than you can imagine," the woman said, stepping forward. Her voice was firm yet sympathetic. "He believed in a divine calling that fractured the very bones of his existence." Emily's heart sank as she turned to the woman. "But at what cost?" she asked, desperation creeping into her voice. "Is faith worth the suffering it brings?" "Faith is never simple, dear one," the woman replied. "It resides in paradoxes and shadows. It empowers and destroys. Understand, this suffering can be a choice, or it can be imposed by the choices of others. Your father chose a path that affected more than just himself." Before Emily could process this, another figure emerged from the edges of the shadows, edging closer. It was the man who had spoken before, his eyes filled with sorrow and wisdom. "You must understand, Emily. Choices were made not only to protect but to honor destiny. Your father faced the truth, he could not turn away. You are his legacy." The words settled heavily in her chest. Legacy. She had spent years yearning for a connection, but could a legacy also be a burden? "Do you fear the truth?" the man asked, studying her intently. "Or do you fear what you may become upon embracing it? Knowledge is a knife, it can cut or it can heal." Emily felt her pulse quicken. A knife? Was she prepared to wield it, to cut through the fabric of her inherited pain? The darkness writhed closer, whispering doubts that seeped into her thoughts. What if knowing the truth shattered her? "No!" she cried out, the fire of defiance igniting within her. "I refuse to be afraid." But the shadows recoiled, a chill sweeping through the air. "Then prepare, Emily," the woman warned. "The truth is coming, and it will reveal not just your father's pain, but your own destiny." The very ground beneath her began to tremble, and a rumble filled the atmosphere, deep and menacing. Emily's heart raced, a mix of dread and exhilaration surging through her. She understood now, she wasn't just a seeker. She was about to become a player in a much greater game, a game forged in sacrifice and illuminated by the hope for redemption. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted, casting away the shadows in an instant. Emily squinted against its brilliance, feeling disoriented yet alive. As the brightness filled the room, she caught fleeting glimpses: her father's struggle, her mother's tears, community whispers shrouded in gossip. Each image carved itself deeper into her psyche, a flood of emotions and truths crashing against her like waves. Then, just as abruptly, the light faded, leaving Emily alone in a hushed stillness. The laughter returned, now mingled with a sobering voice that whispered directly into her ear, "You think you can handle this? You have no idea what price the truth demands." The walls of the room now glared down at her, and an unsettling weight pressed against her shoulders. Emily clenched her fists, resolve strengthening with every heartbeat. "I will withstand it," she vowed, staring into the remnants of darkness. "I will not be crushed by this legacy any longer." But as her words echoed into the void, the chilling sound of rapid footsteps drew nearer. It had begun. What awaited her beyond the edge of her determination? Would she rise to face the next wave, or would the truth drown her completely? The footsteps grew louder, echoing through the void like a heartbeat counting down to an inevitable confrontation. Emily's mind raced as the shadows slithered back, revealing fleeting glimpses of a hallway lined with heavy doors and flickering lights. Each door stood firm, guarding secrets she couldn't yet fathom. But the footsteps continued, relentless and approaching. Her breath quickened. Was she ready for whatever emerged from the dark? The air turned electric, crackling like a storm brewing just out of sight. "Who's there?" she called out, forcing her voice to remain steady despite the rising tide of fear inside her. The only response was the echo of her own question, bouncing back mockingly from unseen corners. Suddenly, the light flickered again, illuminating a figure emerging from the lingering shadows. It was a young woman, her eyes wide with urgency, a combination of terror and determination dancing across her features. "You need to come with me," she urged, trembling slightly. "Who are you?" Emily demanded, narrowing her eyes. "What is happening?" "Time is running out. You need to understand what is at stake," the woman said breathlessly. "Your father's choices are entwined with something far darker. You've stumbled into a web of fate, one that demands a sacrifice." "A sacrifice?" The word hung in the air like a heavy stone. Emily's heart pounded harder. This was what they had warned her about. She drew a deep breath, forcing the panic back. "What do you mean?" "The truth that lies ahead goes beyond just your father," the woman pressed on. "It stretches through generations, yours included. You may find that the legacy you inherit is one of struggle, not just pain." Emily's stomach twisted. She was teetering on the edge of a precipice, grappling with the weight of her lineage. "No! I want to accept that. I want the truth. I deserve to know." The woman stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Are you certain? Some truths are not meant to be borne lightly. They change you. They can take you down paths you cannot return from." A dread filled Emily's chest, expanding and squeezing her heart. She thought of her father, the burden he carried alone. "What about my choices? Will they change nothing?" For an instant, sorrow flitted across the woman's face. "Your choices matter deeply. But the knowledge you seek may come at an indescribable cost, and only you can decide if you are prepared to pay it." The room trembled again, an ominous rumble that made the very air vibrate. Emily felt the urgency rise within her, a flicker of defiance igniting anew. "I want to back down," she proclaimed. "I refuse to let fear dictate my fate." "Then come with me. But remember, once you step through the door, there's no going back." With that, the woman turned, sprinting deeper into the corridor. Emily hesitated, always the step behind, a flickering light amidst the dark shadows of her own fears. Could she trust this stranger? What if following her led to more confusion, more pain? As she weighed her options, the laughter returned, more raucous and jagged, reverberating through the air as if mocking her indecision. Emily tightened her jaw, battling the instinct to flee into the comfort of the familiar. She had come too far already. With a burst of resolve, she bolted after the woman, her heart racing as she entered the corridor. As she plunged forward, the temperature dropped, a chilling breeze sweeping through the passageway. The walls whispered her name, taunting her to turn back. What awaited her on the other side of that door? Would she find answers, or would the echoes of her past keep her forever shackled in uncertainty? In that moment, she realized with stark clarity, the greatest victory lay not in the truth she sought but in her survival against the impending storm. Emily sprinted down the corridor, her breath coming in quick bursts as she chased the flickering shadows that danced ahead of her. The woman was surprisingly fast, her figure shimmering in and out of view like a mirage, leading Emily deeper into a labyrinth that felt alive with every echoing footfall. "Wait!" Emily shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. "What's your name?" "Focus!" the woman called back, glancing over her shoulder. "We need to move before it finds us." "It?" The word tore through Emily's thoughts, splintering the last remnants of her bravado. Who or what was after them? She felt the walls closing in, the corridor twisted like a serpent, every step an uneasy gamble. Confidence flickered and dimmed like the failing lights above. As they dove through an archway, the air changed. It thickened, a palpable weight pressing against her chest. Emily stumbled, nearly colliding with the woman, who grasped her arm with surprising strength. "We have to get to the heart of this place," the woman insisted, her voice strained. "It's all connected to your father, to what he chose to hide." Emily's mind raced. Her father, a man of mystery since she could remember, had always kept secrets, hidden corners in their lives that she had been desperate to illuminate. But what lay at the center of this darkness? "You mean the adoption? Why did he lie to me?" She barely recognized the quiver in her voice, raw vulnerability creeping in as jagged memories resurfaced. "Yes. But it goes deeper, trust me," the woman urged, desperation crackling in her tone. "I promise the truth will set you free, but it's also dangerous. So many have tried to find it, only to be swallowed whole." They veered around another corner, and Emily's heart nearly stopped. Ahead loomed a vast door, a massive, iron-bound slab adorned with symbols she couldn't decipher. It pulsed softly, a heartbeat embedded within it. "Is this it?" Emily gasped, fear overpowering curiosity as she stepped forward. There was a faint glow around the edges, beckoning her closer. "Yes." "But the choice," the woman began, but the tremor in the air grew into a deafening roar that drowned out her words. The laughter returned, echoed by a sinister whisper that chilled Emily to her core. Emily had breathed, wrapping around her like a serpent's embrace. She stumbled back, her heart racing as the shadows coalesced into a swirling vortex, dark tendrils reaching out for her. Memories, flashes of her childhood, her father's face, the warmth of home flickered like an old film strip, dissolving under the weight of impending doom. "Fight it!" the woman shouted, gripping Emily's hand fiercely. "Don't give it power!" "What do I do?" Emily screamed, panic clawing at her throat. "Ask the question!" the woman yelled, her eyes fierce. "The question that ignites the truth." The shadows lunged closer, tendrils twisting around them, wrapping tighter as if trying to crush Emily's very spirit. Her pulse thundered in her ears. "Who am I?" Emily shouted, her voice trembling yet defiant against the cacophony. "What am I meant to be?" The laughter twisted, becoming a wail that shattered the air, leaving only silence in its wake. The darkness withdrew slightly, and the door pulsed again, radiating energy as if answering her challenge. "Now step through," the woman urged, her eyes locked onto Emily's, brimming with something resembling hope, or fear, but hesitance gripped Emily's heart. What lay on the other side of that door? Would she find clarity or plunge deeper into a nightmare woven by her own lineage? As uncertainty churned within her, she felt the shadows clawing at her again, desperate for their prey. She looked back at the woman, whose expression blended dread with fierce determination, thoughts racing as the air thickened with tension. Would she take a leap into the unknown, or allow fear to ensnare her? Just as she prepared to make her choice, the door creaked open a fraction, revealing a shimmering light that swirled with incomprehensible shapes. What awaited her beyond? Would she emerge whole, or forever altered by the truth that beckoned? Like a siren in the night? Emily stood frozen, her mind a tempest of doubt and fear. The doorway before her glimmered with a mesmerizing light, almost inviting her into the unknown. Just a step. That's all it would take to leap into a swirling abyss of answers. Emily! The woman's voice cut through her confusion like a blade. You have to decide now. The shadows flickered around her, coaxing and malevolent. They seemed hungry for what she held inside, her fears, her past, her very identity. Emily felt the weight of those shadows pressing against her, as if they could see deep into her soul, wading through her insecurities and whispering doubts. Her heartbeat was a wild drum, echoing in her ears. If she stepped through that door, what would happen? Would she find the truth about herself? The secrets her father loved enough to guard with his life? Or would she unleash something far more sinister? Don't let it win, the woman urged, her grip tightening on Emily's hand. Think about your father, he had his reasons. Trust him, trust yourself. A soft laugh resonated behind the door, a seething sound that twisted around them. It tore through Emily's psyche, magnifying her horror. She felt the shadows writhe, sensing her moment of indecision. Nothing can hurt you if you confront it, the woman pressed, her voice rising above the chaos. Don't let fear take control. With a sudden surge of determination, Emily inhaled deeply, feeling the cool air fill her lungs. She thought of her father, his protective demeanor, the earnest love in his eyes, and the deep secrets he hid behind closed doors. What pain had pushed him to keep her in the dark? Okay, she shouted, louder than she thought she could, sealing her resolve. I'm not afraid anymore. The shadows peeled back, as if caught off guard, allowing a breath of fresh air to rush past them. Emily stepped towards the door, its glow pulsating and swirling with energy. The woman's hand squeezed hers, a silent affirmation, as they moved closer together. Just as they reached the threshold, the door swung wide, engulfing them in a radiant light. Emily felt warmth envelop her, despite her trepidation. The laughter faded, replaced by a soft hum that resonated within her bones. But as soon as they crossed the threshold, reality changed. They were no longer in the corridor. The air was lighter, almost ethereal, and she could feel a lush, vibrant landscape unfolding before her. But the moment was fleeting. Smoky figures swirled around them, causing the once gentle air to grow heavy again. Styles of faces flickered in the light, distorted and caught between fear and longing. What is this place? Emily whispered, her heart racing. It's where truth manifests, the woman replied, her voice almost melodic. But be careful. Not all truth is kind. Emily's gaze flitted around, absorbing the visions that whirled about them, glimpses of memories, some familiar, others troublingly foreign. Her childhood, tattered and real, woven with shadows of past decisions. It was all there, waiting to be pieced together. A figure suddenly stepped before her, cloaked in shadows. Emily's breath hitched. Who are you? She asked, throat dry, caught between recognition and dread. I am a reflection of your past and your future, it answered, voice chilling and echoing like thunder. Are you ready to face what you truly are? Her pulse raced, fear and curiosity battling within. Emily could feel the looming weight of her history pressing down on her like an anchor, threatening to drag her under the waves of revelation. Do you dare? The figure taunted, glowing dimly, yet powerfully, the spotlight of her past illuminating the darkness that shrouded her existence. With her heart in her throat and no clear exit, she steeled herself. This moment could change everything. But would she embrace it, or would it consume her? As the shadows threatened to close in once more, Emily took a step forward, ready to confront the reflection of her very soul. What truth awaited her in the depths of shadow? Would the ghost of her past bring freedom, or the chains that bind? The moment hung palpably in the air, an electric tension dancing between Emily and the cloaked figure standing before her. She felt her heart pound, resonating like a war drum in the stillness. This was it, the final confrontation with everything she had feared and longed for. The path ahead was unclear, but she couldn't turn back. She wouldn't. She took a deep breath, grounding herself in the moment. "I'm ready," she declared, emboldened by the courage she didn't know she possessed. The cloak shifted, shadows swirling around the figure like a tempest. A low chuckle rumbled through the air, sending chills racing down her spine. "Ready for the truth, are you?" It sneered, its voice like gravel grinding against stone. "But know this, the truth bears a weight you cannot yet fathom." The shadows enveloped her tighter, swirling around in a chaotic dance as if they were alive, living entities playing with her resolve. "What do you mean?" she shouted defiantly. "What could be worse than living a lie?" "Then embrace the truth, child of light," the figure hissed, stepping closer, its outlines sharpening in Emily's focus. "But beware, once unveiled, the remnants of your past will claw their way back to you. Lay bare your heart and let the truth echo through." With a steadying breath, Emily stepped into the figure's space, face to face with her own fears and shadows. "Show me," she demanded, defiance thick in her voice. "I'm not afraid." In an instant, the shadows recoiled and burst open, revealing a vivid scene unfolding before her. Twisted images of her family began to take shape. Her father as a young man, burdened with choices, tormented by a past he couldn't escape. She saw him with her mother, laughter cascading through the room, but then glimpses of shouting, of betrayal, as choices morphed into dark pathways. "Your father the protector and the prisoner," the figure murmured, its voice now a haunting chorus. He held both love and fear tightly as he forged his path. Emily felt her heart twist painfully. Each memory unfolded with the force of a tidal wave, knocking her breathless. She realized her father's love had not been uncomplicated. It had been stitched with sacrifice and sorrow, a truth she had never fully understood. As understanding flickered like a distant star, her resolve deepened. "I can change this," she whispered to herself, more than to the shadow. "I'm not trapped like he was. I will confront it." Suddenly, the scene before her shifted, images blurred and collided until they formed a singular moment, a choice. She stood before a mirror, reflecting not just her father, but herself, a legacy of pain intertwined with the choice to fight back. "Seek the truth that dwells within," the figure intoned, its voice echoing like a chant. "Will you flee? Or will you take what was once hidden and turn it into light?" "Light," she echoed thoughtfully, her mind racing. That made sense. She had felt trapped in fear, but truth, real truth, would empower her. "Yes, I choose light," Emily yelled, her voice laced with renewed strength. "I choose to confront my past and my family's legacies." As her words echoed in the shadows, the energy around her shifted, starting to hum with power. The figure leaned in closer, almost human now, empathy mixing with its haunting presence. "Brave. But will you bear the consequences?" "I will. I can't live in fear anymore," she asserted, her eyes burning with determination. "I will wield this knowledge to create change." The shadows rippled, exposing fissures of light breaking through the cracks of darkness. Emily felt a surge of warmth envelop her, the moment feeling sacred, the potential of what was to come filling her with hope. She took a small step forward, the shadows retreating unwillingly, revealing a path carved by the embodiment of her choice. "Then heed the call of your destiny," the figure informed her, its form receding into the luminescent glow. "You have claimed your power, child of light. Go and reshape the threads of your legacy." Emily took one last look at the shadow that had both tormented and guided her. Now she saw it for what it was, a reflection of her fears. With clenched fists and a full heart, she stepped into the light, the shimmering doorway pulling her into a new age, where she would face her family's truths and unearth a brighter future waiting to be written. With a final surge, she thought of her father. She wouldn't let his past dictate her future. She would be the beacon of hope, the change he had fought so valiantly for. As the last vestiges of darkness slipped away, the realization washed over her. Light was not just knowledge, it was love, forgiveness, and the courage to confront the past. Once back in Willow Creek, Illuminated by newfound determination, Emily knew she had not just surrendered to the truth, but had reclaimed her power. She felt lighter, like the shadows of despair had been lifted from her heart. The townsfolk began to scatter, their earlier fears now replaced with an overwhelming sense of understanding. Emily stood at the church's doorway, peering into the faces of those she had grown up with, the fear and uncertainty giving way to a newfound hope amongst them. With a deep breath, she whispered, "It's time for us all to confront our truths, Willow Creek." And as she stepped into the light of a new dawn, Emily felt the promise of redemption wrapping around her like a warm embrace, knowing she was no longer just a product of her past but a pioneer of a brighter future. Now is the moment, dear friends. If you haven't already, subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will fill your heart and awaken your spirit. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and spread this story far and wide. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this powerful ending. Your voices matter, so let me hear from you. Finally, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to confront their truths. Don't wait even one more second. True fans stand together. Let us illuminate the world together.